7'10" wingspan.
You could be the best defensive player in the draft.
We know he can protect the rim. We know he can switch 1 through 5 really in late short clock situations.
The Orlando Magic select Mo Bamba.
Guys, he's one of the bigger question marks in the draft because his ceiling is off the charts. But there is a little bit of an if to him, don't you think?
Watching Mo Bamba flop in the NBA was an eye-opening realization that talent might not be all that you need, because in reality, Mo had all the ability that you could ask for. An athletic 7-footer with arms down to the floor, flying up and down with a buttery jump shot. He literally looked like a cartoon character just made to get buckets. Fast forward 5 years later, in a league that's begging for a switchy rim protector who can knock down the 3-ball, wants nothing to do with the man behind the suburb's favorite party song. As one of the biggest flops in recent history, how did Mo Bamba screw up his cakewalk into stardom? With the NBA season in full swing, there's no better time to shorten up your winter by catching your favorite team live and in person. I know we all wish we could catch a few more games this year than the last, like every year it seems. Whether it be price, timing, or whatever your issue, it never seems to work out. But with the Game Time Sports app, finding killer deals on seats is easier than ever. With views from your seats and all-in prices right in your face, they take the guesswork out of the ticketing process. I'm definitely going to use the opportunity to see the first in the West Wolves, and with incredible last-minute deals and the simplicity of a 2-click purchase, it's time to leave the excuses in the past. With the low price guarantee, event cancellation, and even job loss protection, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. It's time to finally follow through with your New Year's resolution. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code SWISHCOUNTY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, redeem code SWISHCOUNTY for $20 off your first purchase. And a big thank you to the Game Time app for sponsoring today's video. Mo Bamba had star written all over him since he first began playing in the streets of Harlem, New York. But upon entering high school at Westtown in Pennsylvania, I don't think anyone knew that they had front row seats to the best show in the country. After putting together a solid reputation for himself in the NY scene by running up the AAU crowds and earning a 54th spot in the country, it's safe to say that the blow-up was still in the works. On one of the best teams in the country alongside future Blue Devil and NBA player Cam Reddish, the addition of Mo Bamba was bound to be huge. But I don't think anyone knew the potential that they were dealing with here. Westtown coach Seth Berger had seen the flash of an athletic and long 6'8" freshman, catching lobs and spiking shots like they're volleyballs. But after just one practice with Bamba, Berger personally called up Mo's AAU coach who referred him to the school to apologize for undervaluing him. Bamba was a high major talent, and just a few days after that made the same call to thank him for sending over a future NBA lottery pick. With all the pieces now in place, the show is on the road. Cam Reddish was one of the best offensive knockout blows in the country, and Mo Bamba edged his name as one of the best defensive presences that high school basketball has ever seen, climbing from the 54th ranking to a top 5 pick. The potential couldn't be more obvious. I mean, putting up 14 points, 11 boards, and 6 blocks as a junior on his way to his state championship, this guy was gross. Running like a deer in the open floor with his rim running ability was pretty untouched. And with insane length and a solid vertical leap, his pick and roll play and offensive rebounding created plenty of easy looks for himself that you really can't match up with. But on the other side of the ball, this was nothing short of crazy. Being a frequent triple-double threat with blocks, this dude was untouchable. Shooting up to 7 feet with damn near an 8-foot wingspan, this was the most imposing rim protector I've ever seen. With quick feet to slide with guards or try to cover a pick and roll, perfect timing, and a very impressive IQ for a high school kid, he was legitimately one of the best defensive talents I've ever seen at this level. A guy who could willingly move out from under the basket in a 2-3 zone to use his length to contest shots on literally half of the court. The potential was unreal here. With a clear, natural feel for the game, smooth-looking jump shot, pretty good hands, and a pretty polished skill set, more so than you'd really think, Mo Bamba looked like an immediate impact at the college level who could grow into a Rudy Gobert-level rim protector, knocking down threes and switching onto guards and wings. Yeah, this guy had Coach K and Calipari drooling over him. But after putting Texas coach Shaka Smart through the ringer in basically a week-long interview for the USA team, Bamba took the mostly untraveled route going down to Austin, Texas. It's fun to see the top guys not rocking the typical blue jerseys you'd expect, and Bamba for damn sure made this a fun year for the Longhorns. A year that saw Bamba totaling 13 points, 10.5 boards, and 3.7 blocks a game. It's pretty clear what this guy was. Pretty much all the defensive tools you could ask for. Bamba was a brilliant help defender. He could stay in front of most guys regardless of position, only fouled 2.5 times a game for a guy that's swiping at every shot, and could cover a ton of ground, contest shots literally anywhere on the floor in the snap of a fingers. For a guy with a 7'10 wingspan and a 7-foot frame, not being a stumbling doofus is probably going to be enough to get by, but Bamba's footwork was incredibly standout. With an IQ well above his years, his footwork to establish positioning and get in the right spots showed that teeing off on shots in college wasn't going to be end of the road. This guy was ready to protect an NBA 10. His IQ, polish, and footwork transferred to the offensive side of the ball as well. Although still a project, Bamba could use his long skinny frame to slide around in the post and get quality shots over anyone. And although not a secondary ball handler or anything, could put it on the floor and get to the basket in like a dribble from half court. And at 27% from deep, although many of his offensive skills weren't ready to transfer to the NBA and make an impact immediately, the groundwork was laid to be built on in the future. His offensive rawness wasn't quite the only concern though. The obvious, of course, being that this dude is a stick. And his weakness resulted in him being forced out of position pretty often, and greatly inhibited his ability to finish in traffic as well, mostly leaving him as a lob threat under the basket, just creating vertical separation. A bit more concerning, however, is how off and on this guy's motor could be. At 19 and 15 for having a lottery pick on the team, the Longhorn season was up and down for sure, and Bamba rode that wave right with him. At times he's beating shots into a roaring crowd, yeah, he's everywhere. But in the dog days of the season, coming off 2 L's in a row, he's walking back on defense, thinking about the girls in the stands, or whatever the hell he's doing. This kind of brought up the question in how much he really loves the game, which you don't want to see from your defensive anchor, especially when this is compounded with him telling the rebuilding Grizzlies holding the 4th overall pick, kind of right in his mock draft range, to not even bother on him. He was only going to play for a team that had a chance of winning, I guess. There was a risk with taking Bamba. There was quite a bit that you weren't going to get right away. But I mean, with all the tools he had, mixed with running a faster 3/4 sprint than Russell Westbrook at the NBA Combine, this was like Giannis level potential. Come draft night, there was definitely a few that were scared away by the uncertainty, including the Grizzlies, who landed one of the best defensive bigs in the NBA, funny enough. But how far can you really fall when the world's bumping your theme song with Mo Bamba landing number 6 to Orlando? A team that has seen a few Supermans develop under their systems. It was kind of a whole different team at the time, but still brought in the hype that a Dwight Howard who can grab the rim without jumping just found their new home. As a 25-win team, drafting for fit isn't a choice, and although Mo Bamba had the highest ceiling on the board most likely, being in the same position as their best player Nikola Vucevic did cannibalize his minutes on the floor. Starting just one game and playing 16 minutes this year, Bamba's risk definitely shied through. He was on the further end of the spectrum when it came to how NBA ready he was for sure. Putting up 6 points, 5 boards, and 1.4 blocks, there's plenty of times where he was swatting shots, grabbing a few boards, and knocking down a few 3 balls at a 30% clip. But there was many times he was getting lost in the defensive system, he was getting bullied in the post, and he was looking unmotivated to be there at all. The poor post defense is pretty exploitable, and there's a lot more guys in the NBA that can put a body into your chest and finish a layup at an angle than at the college level. Although proven to be a decently smart defender at lower levels of basketball, what became clear by the time that Bamba got to the NBA was he was not used to having to be a smart defender. Allowing your length to bail you out just doesn't work. The game's too complex for that, even if Bamba really wishes it did. The shift in pace and size was clearly hard on him. And for the first time, it kind of made you wonder if his defensive IQ had been exaggerated, just from how easy it was for him to use his size to bail him out. Getting frequently lost in the Magic system, just hunting for blocks and losing his actual matchup, not being able to slide with guards and wings with the quickness that they have at this level, lacking the drive to establish a positioning, or just lacking the physical strength to get there. Bamba's defense was kind of more of a project than you would like for someone who was supposed to be the best defender in the draft. After unfortunately shutting down 47 games into the season with a left tibial fracture, there's clearly a lot more work that had to be done after getting his first taste of the league. I mean, after a 21-27 start, the Magic immediately saw a 9-3 turnaround with a playoff berth right after his injury. Potential's fun in college, but project players are a lot less fun. In the ADHD TikTok age, fans did pretty quickly forget about Bamba after not immediately becoming Dikembe Mutombo. And after coming back to the floor with minimal improvement his sophomore season, Magic may have swiped onto the next one too. Playing on a bad 33-40 team under an all-star center and not getting very much clock, I think you'd watch the motor of this kid fall every game if you were one of the 13 people that was watching him check in. Frankly, there wasn't much patience from the Magic's end, but in response to the situation, Bamba didn't give them a ton to be patient for. Outside of his jump shot, which did improve quite a bit to 34% in his sophomore season, being a center who shot 46% from the field, was kind of scared to attack the rim, shooting under a free throw a game, and got tossed like a salad by NBA bigs was just not really cutting it at all. As Orlando would move Vucevic to Chicago in the next season, Bamba's role in the team would finally begin to increase, reaching highs in scoring and rebounding and edging his way into the starting lineup. As his role greatly increased in the next 2 years to follow, despite his statistical improvement, the actual on-court improvement was hard to see. When on the floor, Bamba's on-off numbers indicated him being a large offensive nuisance, and only being about a league average defender. There wasn't much to speculate about at this point. Bamba had been given a few years, had hit the gym and improved to being a legitimate stretch big, and even started to fill out his frame after the pandemic hiatus. The jumps he took may look interesting on paper, but with the holes in his game, it's hard to look at his game as anything other than incomplete. Having all the size in the world doesn't help you offensively when you can't set a screen, won't attack the rim, can't post up anyone, and resorted to being strictly a jump shooter. There's no role for him to really serve. He may have flashes here and there of a great block from the weak side or a great finish in the paint, but his performance and efforts were as inconsistent as they come. Being a defensive focal point 4 years into his career, while playing pretty low-effort defense and still looking like he's trying to adapt and catch up to the speed of the NBA game, blocking a few shots didn't really make him an anchor. Displaying no real hunger to get to where he needed to, despite putting up a career high of 10-8 with nearly 2 blocks and shooting 40% from deep in his 4th season, his career was kinda done. Bamba would be moved to the Los Angeles Lakers the following season, where his talents would be sat right on the bench, playing just 10 minutes a game when he's actually playing, putting 3.7 points up a game on 40% shooting. The Lakers kind of showed that this wasn't really an NBA guy. As we currently stand, putting up 4 points a game for the Philadelphia 76ers could very well be the last stop in his career, and it's truly really shitty to see. Although not all the blame can be put on him, as a team drafting a project player who they're not really willing to give the time and resources to develop is unfair to the player, no doubt. And some of the injuries that flared up throughout his career can be overwhelming, especially when times aren't going well. But Bamba certainly holds a lot of the blame for his downfall as well. Maybe next time don't tell the team who drafted everything you were supposed to be to piss right off. It's hard to imagine a player with the natural ability that he has not being able to edge out a career if he would come into every game and give it 120% like a guy like JaVale McGee. When things aren't going the way you hoped, you can't just slow down or you'll fade into irrelevancy, as we've clearly seen. With athletes growing on trees in 2023, there's no time for a 25-year-old with no aggressiveness to reach the sky-high potential that he had. Maybe after a G League or a Europe stint, he can come back to the NBA and really screw his head on right. But until we reach that point, this is the Mo Bamba story. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the video on screen now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.